It's Mayhem.
Oh, hello. It's Friday morning, and what I did this morning is I typed in Justin Trudeau in the search bar on Twitter, okay, and amazing things come up. So Justin Trudeau has been invited to NATO conference and the European Parliament, and what happens next is just amazing, because he thinks he's a hero in his own country, where he's not. He thinks he runs democracy in his country, which he doesn't. Let's have a look. So this is going on the full screen, and I'm going to disappear for a moment, and let's have a look.
On Article 195 out that it would have been more appropriate for Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to address this House according to Article 144, an article which was specifically designed to debate violations of human rights, democracy and the rule of law, which is clearly the case with Mr. Trudeau. Then again, a prime minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this House at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
So that's kind of burning at the moment, isn't it? I was a big burn, big time for Justin Trudeau. He was expected to be welcomed with applause and maybe flowers, roses thrown at him, but it's not happening, because people do have eyes and do have ears, and they do think for themselves, even politicians as well. We have some good people in politics, which is a good thing. They keep fighting for us average Joes. But that's not over. Let's have a look at the other one. So for our English listeners, I'm going to translate it as we go. Basically, I'm not good at language, but I'm basically going to read the translation from the video. Dear colleagues, dear citizens, Prime Minister Trudeau, freedom, the right to choose, the right to life, the right to work, for many of us are fundamental human rights, for which millions of citizens of Europe and the world have laid down their lives, to defend our rights and the rights of our children, which we have acquired over the centuries. Many of us, including myself, are willing to risk our own freedom and our own lives. Unfortunately, today there are those among us who trample on these fundamental values. Canada, once a symbol of the modern world, has become a symbol of civil rights violations under your quasi-liberal foot in the recent months. We watched how you trample women with horses, how you block the bank accounts of a single parent so that they can't even pay their children's education and the medicine, that they can't pay utilities, mortgages for their homes. To you, these may be liberal methods. For many citizens of the world, it's a dictatorship of the worst kind. Rest assured that the citizens of the world, united, can stop any regime that wants to destroy freedom of citizens, either by bombs or harmful pharmaceutical products. Thank you. So he's sitting there and he's probably thinking, you're on the list, you're on the list, you're on the list. I'm telling Klaus, I'm telling Soros, I'm telling China, and so on and so on. So, guys, he's actually getting burned, and he makes a speech.
Anxious times, and people are looking for leadership and solutions. Unfortunately, we're seeing a rise in cynical populists who are trying to exploit these anxieties. They pretend to have easy solutions that play on people's fears. Even in Canada, where 90% of people are vaccinated, and our motto as a country is peace, order, and good government, we saw anti-vaccine and anti-government protests devolve into illegal occupations of our communities and blockades of our borders. The leaders of those convoys were effective in turning citizens with real anxieties against the system best suited to allay those concerns. These are
So this is alleged picture taken while he's making the speech. That's okay, there's not that many of them. But instead of talking about something else, he just keeps whining about this, the protest that took place in Canada, that it's not fair, and he basically blasts people's right to protest. So if somebody protests against the government, I think that might mean that you're doing something wrong and that people don't like it. But that's just my opinion. So, when you scroll through Twitter today and just type in Trudeau, what happens is you just get this. CBC claims empty EU Parliament gave Trudeau standing ovation. Trudeau warns Canadians and European leaders against politicians acting just like he does. Okay. The Globe and Mail. Trudeau criticising European Parliament over response to Ottawa convoys protests. And then we have a shit kicking of Justin Trudeau by our own Senator, Sharon Keegan. Let's have a listen.
Always been at the forefront of speaking up for those who have been oppressed. We recognise the interconnectivity of the countries of Europe and the world at large, and that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We've had calls in this House to address serious human rights abuses occurring in all places over the world, from China in the east to here in the west, and addressing the issues in our own country as well. So I find it odd that we've heard nothing of what has been a well-publicised, high-profile, peaceful protest being violently suppressed and dispersed by armed government forces. Ranks of uniformed and armoured military figures, stripped of their badges and ID tags, converged on protesters. An officer on horseback trampled over a disabled woman. Around 200 arrests were made and over 60 vehicles seized by the state.
That speech was made on the 22nd of February 2022 by Senator Sharon Keegan. So back then she pointed out the dangers of democracy in Canada. So we don't want that kind of democracy in Ireland, but we're making slow steps towards it with hateful speech on the internet, when the government can decide what can we can think and speak of. And soon we'll be basically getting the leaflets through the door saying, today the word of the day is we love the fucking government. Right, listen, have a good weekend. Join Gaming Pit Podcast while we're doing the Montauk project today. And you can listen on the Spreaker. The links are going to be in the description. And have a good day. I'll chat you later.